Hello, and thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate the 12 of you that watch my long-form content. It means a lot to me. We're going to be doing a Christmas giveaway on my website. I'm uncomfortable doing it on the channel. I just don't feel like reading through YouTube's terms of service and making sure I'm compliant with that. And so this isn't truly the announcement for it. It's the announcement that you should look for the announcement about our Christmas giveaway. $10 gift cards and the whatnot. Some exclusions apply, no purchase necessary. Many will enter, few will win. Not eligible or not valid in all 50 states or U.S. territories. See website for details. I think that's the disclaimer, but I have to look into it. So if you'd like some gift cards, if you'd like a gift card, if you'd like to win something for free, I'm not going to try and screw you with shipping and handling. I never understood the thinking behind that. Let me know. Leave a comment and I'll make sure that you get that information. Alrighty. So what is this episode about? What are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about what's going on with the kids. You see, there's a shibboleth going around. What is a shibboleth? Lollapalooza? Something that they'd yell in World War II to see if there were Japanese in that trench or Americans. And if the Japanese yelled back, Rarapalooza, well, they just opened fire, throw a grenade. You know those weren't your friends. That's what America First is. That's what Christ is King is. That's what noticing, fatigue, return to the land. These are all shibboleths. They're shibboleths for an idea. And we'll get to that idea in just a second. First, let's talk a little bit about universalism. What is universalism? It's a mainstream branch of the Christian church that doesn't teach the doctrine of election. Zach, what is election? Election is a doctrine that's spoken of by Jesus throughout the Synoptic Gospels, and it's something that Paul speaks of continuously in his writing. Let's turn to Romans chapter 11 real quick. We're just going to brush up on this. I understand there's atheists, there's agnostic people. There's all kinds of folks watching, and so I'm not going to dwell too long in the scripture here. I just want to give you a touch point for what the idea of elect is. In shorthand, it's chosen. So, I do not want you to be ignorant of this mystery, brothers. You do not become conceited. Israel has experienced a hardening in part until the full number of Gentiles has come in. Then so too all Israel shall be saved. As it is written, the deliverer will come from Zion. He'll turn the godlessness away from Jacob. This will be my covenant with them when I take away their sins. As far as the gospel is concerned, they are enemies for your account. But as far as election is concerned, they are beloved on account of the patriarchs. For God's gifts and his call are irrevocable. Just as you were given over to disobedience and have received mercy as a result of their disobedience, they too have been given over to disobedience and will receive mercy as a result of the mercy you have received. For God has given all men over to disobedience, that God might have mercy on all men. You notice there Paul uses the word election, and he uses it in kind of a distinct way. You see, election represents God's sovereign choice. Before God laid the foundations of the earth, he called the saints to glory. Those he called, he predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that Jesus would be the firstborn among many brothers. I think I missed a part of that one. So universalism is individualism. It's the idea that Jesus is chasing after you. He's some weak-wristed sissy that just wants you so badly to love him, but you, just won't. But if you would, there's things you've got to do. Why, you need to work so hard on yourself to conform to the law. Essentially, it's blasphemy of the Holy Spirit, the idea that he does nothing, that he's not the one who produces the supernatural fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. No, that's on you. And if you can't produce them, then you're not a Christian. And universalism doesn't come out and say that. It eschews the doctrine of election, and so that's all that it's left with. It's twin pillar culpability. And so universalism truly does become, in some sense, a church of culpability in the law. It's interesting that they should say that Peter is their founder then. After all, Peter does represent the law, and John represents love. We're not under the law, we're under faith. Not that the law has been removed, not a jot nor a tittle. But just like Abraham, faith is the reason we're given righteousness, that it's imbued to us. You see, we're not righteous, but Christ is righteous, and his righteousness is imbued to us. For the faith we are given. Faith is a gift. Simply turn to any of C.S. Lewis's documents. He talks frequently about prayer in the A and B structure, and you can hear what he has to say about faith. So these are normative arguments within the Christian church. This is stuff that Isaac Newton would have found fairly normative. Just universalism, the distinction therein and the other main branches. And universalism tends to be the one that drives the other branches out. And I don't say that to slander the Catholic Church. I don't say that to slander the Universalists. I say that because we need to know what universalism is before we get into this. You see, the Universalists have gotten a hold of the kids. Because of one man's sin, many are condemned, but because of the righteousness of one man, many are made righteous. There is original sin. The Universalists are individualists. They say that you have this free will, the right to choose, all of these things. And none of that's necessarily untrue. So they've excluded the whole truth. You take the facts to court to find the truth. The truth is higher value than the facts. And the truth held consistently with all other truths we hold is the proper and correct narrative. So what are the kids talking about? They describe it as a post-World War II economic order. It's a system they feel has never benefited them, and it's an abstraction. Abstractions are useful in computing to talk about what goes on within, just as 1 and 0 are abstractions for on and off settings. And in its off setting, in the 0 state, the computer doesn't lack power. It's not powered to the point that it'd be a 1. So let's look at the abstraction, the post-World War II economic order. What the heck is it? Well, it's kind of a misunderstanding. It's kind of a misnomer to begin with, because the economic order that the kids are complaining about actually starts before World War II. It's an answer to the Great Depression. Maybe you're familiar with Herbert Hoover. He's from Iowa, but I wouldn't consider him an Iowan. He moved away from the state in his youth and lived everywhere else but. Why, he even had his presidential summer home in Shenandoah National Park at Rapidan Camp. Rapidan Camp. Fun word, right? Hoover refused to implement any programs, any austerity measures to alleviate the Great Depression. He instead felt that the charities would step in, that Americans would take care of one another. And as they failed to, Herbert Hoover himself was considered a failure. He was an incredible organizer, an incredible infrastructure genius. And in fact, during the Boxer Rebellion in China, Hoover managed to protect many foreigners that were located in China at the time because of his incredible organization skills. And so Hoover should have been able to organize his way out of the Depression, but he refused to. It's something people blamed him for and named Hoovervilles after. They were shanty little towns that were illegally set up in open parking lots. And as the first people in the first Hooverville were brought before a judge, the judge felt so bad for them that he gave them each $2 out of his own pocket. 25% of people were unemployed. Something had to be done. You see, Americans had taken their money, leveraged it into debt, and spent the debt on stocks that they hoped would give them great returns and stuff like radio. We still have radio, so what happened? Well, just like with the AI bubble, it's not about whether or not the product works. It's about whether or not you're over-invested in the money it'll make, over-leveraged. And when that margin call came in for millions of Americans, they didn't have the funds. The bank repossessed their homes and they had nowhere to live. Unlike today, where 25% of young people have been aborted, there was no birth control. People took children, wives, their families, and they set up shacks. The men that couldn't stomach it became hobos. They abandoned their families and they went to ride the rails. The robber barons were slandered as such. Carnegie, Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, Frick. All of these men went from titans of industry, capitalists, conquering the vast void and creating wealth, to thieves. And that's what they were seen as Upton Sinclair released his novel. The muckrakers went after these men. And in some ways they were right, but that's all about perspective. That's what Obi-Wan Kenobi says. He says, from a certain point of view, Darth Vader killed your father. You take the facts to court to find the truth. The truth is higher value than the facts. And the truth held consistently with all other truth we hold is the proper and correct narrative. Amen. And so what is the truth? None of these are the truth. It's more complicated and nuanced. People don't like nuance. People don't like complication. They want black and white. They want people to be either good or bad. But just as Solzhenitsyn says, that line runs right down the middle of people. Maybe you're familiar with Oscar Wilde. He was a PDF file and a monster. Pretty damn good playwright. Maybe you enjoyed The Importance of Being Earnest. It's quite witty. And so Wilde, using his wit to defend his actions, says it's absurd to divide people into good or bad. They are either charming or tedious. And yours truly waxes tediously all the time. These ideas are too simplistic. This post-World War II economic order is an abstraction, just like your transmission's an abstraction for gears, hydraulic fluids, solenoids, the sun and moon gear set, the solar gear set that move the car, that spin the fan blade inside the torque converter to spin the other fan blade inside the torque converter so that the hydraulic fluid can impart motion to your vehicle. It's all abstractions. It's the federal deficit. It's the $40 trillion that the country owes. The kids don't have a way to frame how much this has hurt them, but what's happened is that we spent 50% of the nation's budget on elder care, made it 50% of the kids' tax burden, and it drove up inflation. Inflation really didn't help the ratio of the dollar to your labor, but we printed them faster than we ever could. And so we have a system that spends about 50% of its budget on elder care. I'll break down the numbers in a minute. I'll get there. I can hear you screaming through the monitor. We'll talk about the numbers. But let's talk about the ideas first. So, this older generation owns 50% of household wealth, 70% of invested assets, yet 25% of people are on these social programs, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. Medicare almost exclusively helps people on Social Security. Medicare, $850 billion we spent on that, $1.5 trillion on Social Security. You see, about 3/5 to half of the federal budget is elder care. That's what it costs. And it's over 50% of the kids' tax burden. They're paying for it. They can't afford to buy homes. No, homes cost multi-millions of dollars because of inflation. The only people that own them are in this demographic. But we have to split the demographic. We have to split it in half. Because there are lots of old people not doing well. And you should have compassion for them. Shame on you if you don't. You should have compassion for these people. That doesn't mean that we should let the country be torn apart. It means that these programs need to stay, but they need to be reformed. Am I left or am I right? That's right. You're swimming through a sea looking for talking points, because talking points are what we've come down to. We're all so concerned with what side we're on. No one's concerned with the outcome, with the efficacy, what's going on with the kids. Are they on the right or are they on the left? They're on the outs. They're on the outs with society. They've gone to sit at the feet of the outcasts. After all, Candace Owens was ostracized from the Daily Wire. Tucker Carlson was outcast from Fox News, and Nick Fuentes was thrown out on his ear out of polite society. Why is he back? Rumble. Don't let them lie to you and tell you it's anything but Rumble. You see, the right latched onto the idea that we needed free speech platforms. Rumble is that. Nick Fuentes speaks on there, has an audience. That means that anybody that shares his views, it behooves you to cozy up to. They're right there, being an audience, spending money, viewership that you could have. Steven Crowder's on Rumble. Many people are on Rumble. I'd say that's a huge part of the issue. But the issue isn't the ideas. The issue isn't the things that Nick says. Because people have always said heinous things. People saying heinous things serves to immunize the younger generations against them. They can hear how ridiculous it is. Nick Fuentes ridiculously claims that the Jews run everything. That he's noticed. Does anybody notice that the Dutch control everything? I'm not saying I have a problem with it, but I'm pointing it out because it's something I've noticed. And I've noticed that you haven't. I've noticed that nobody else has noticed that Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, they're of Dutch descent. The Vanderbilts are of Dutch descent. The Bushes, the Roosevelts, Harding, who served before Hoover, they're Dutch. The Dutch invented modern banking. That's what the whole passing tulips thing around was. Those are facsimiles for modern bond notes. And what's kind of cool is good luck out of season over reproducing your tulips and devaluing the bond. It's part of why this works. Now, unfortunately, the Dutch did start trading in people, which is abhorrent and monstrous, and so we can't really herald their society as the great hallmark of the West. After all, they visited a lot of evils across the world. But that's just human nature. I'm not blaming the Dutch, and I'm not condemning them. I'm pointing out that nobody noticed the Dutch were in charge of everything. Look around any system, you'll find the descendants of Dutch. They're everywhere. Dual loyalty. Nick Fuentes loves talking about the dual loyalty of the Israeli people, the Jewish people. Non-religious Jewish people living in America, he considers them to have loyalty to Israel. He's Catholic. He's Catholic. I'll let that sink in. I don't have a problem with the Catholics, but the Pope does have his own country. Catholic people do largely pay tithes. There is an archdiocese in your area that's in charge of directing Catholic people politically. That's right. So Catholic people have dual loyalty. Does that mean that they don't maybe put America first? I would imagine that they put America first. These aren't my accusations. You see, everyone's being accused of not contending with Nick's ideas. Nick's ideas are stupid. They're terrible ideas. I'm not calling Nick stupid. He's made a lot of money. He's captured a lot of people with these ideas and talking points. But the ideas are stupid. And it's because nobody's critiqued them. They've been left to go in a vacuum. That they get to make these accusations that we won't contend with them. So here, I've contended with them. Your ideas are garbage. What is the post-World War II economic order, and how does it tie into this? Israel was founded in 1948. You can say that you believe that Israel was founded in 1948 because of deals between the British, the French, the Palestinian people, the Arab world, attempts to get the sons of different kings to rule over different portions of the Arab world after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. Or you can say what Isaac Newton said, which is that in 1947 he believed that in 1947 the nation of Israel would be founded. Now, keep in mind, Isaac Newton lived back in the time of the Borgia popes. He wasn't having insider information. He looked at the prophecies in Daniel to get that information. Daniel chapter 8 through 12, which is what Jesus is referencing in the Olivet Discourse. That's why we had to jump into religion there at the beginning. You see, religion underpins a lot of this and is an important motivator in this discussion. The kids are being sold universalist talking points and being told that we never truly understood religion, even though this country largely was founded to get away from the universalist thumb, the universalist oppression. If you believed the wrong thing, you could be lit on fire and burned alive. And they would mock you as if you laughed while you died because you'd throw your head back and gasp for oxygen like a drowning child. So those are the ideas of this movement. That deficit spending, kids' labor is not worth anything. They can't catch up and buy these houses. They don't like 50-year mortgages. I kind of like 50-year mortgages because I'd rather own through renting. I never really own it. But you're going to build equity. You're going to pay interest. You can put in a second washing machine if you want. Have you guys ever had a second washing machine? You get a second one set up, you need a whole nother drain, you need water supply lines. I mostly just use PEX to do plumbing. I'm not Mr. Plumber, you know. Got some plumbing tools here. You see, I'm not in automotive. This is an auto shop, and I do a little auto work here and there, but I do maintenance. So all of the people we hire, they go, see that guy puttering around the building, and Kind of wonder what it is I'm up to, and I get to talk to the kids about their ideas. And we've had young mechanics come in, but the world has changed quite a bit. Most of these guys are college educated as mechanics. They hold degrees in certs. They're not here to change oil and move up the rank. The world has changed. It's a different place. It's what the kids are complaining about. They don't have access to it. I believe I said earlier that 25% of Gen Z was aborted. That's the big difference that you're seeing between this and the Depression, rather than the investiture. So the older generation holds 70% of invested assets. That upper echelon of them that can receive $5,000 a month. Something needs to be done about that. We need to lower that cap. Politics is budgetary and policy. Everything else is culture. So here's a little policy idea for you. 5,000 is too much to be asking the kids to prop up the wealthiest people, since all but 4% of people are taking Social Security who are in the age bracket. It's not a safety net, it's socialism for the older generation at everybody else's expense. And the only people I'm really interested in paying for are the ones in need, the ones who would otherwise live miserable lives. See, I don't agree with the Republicans that if we make you miserable for the rest of your days, you'll get your act together. I think that's how you end up with mass shooters. I think that's how you end up with all the evils in our society. And so I do think that some social safety nets, well, they behoove us if we don't want to experience the rapacious grief that tears our country apart at every mass tragedy. Shame on you if you do. So what can be done? We need to reform the programs. It's pretty simple. 3,500 might be a more reasonable number monthly for you to be expecting from the kids who aren't making that. You're expecting them to uphold you at a lifestyle that you had your whole life, like they're your ex-wife. They need to pay you alimony so you can live in the means you're accustomed to, all but 4% of them. But we're not going to help the people on the bottom, the ones getting $900 a month. Buddy, those are the ones I care about. The ones that have to use Medicaid, not the ones that are running out their money, putting it in trust and trying to get as much as they can before they leave this earth to go face God. No. I don't want you to live in misery. I want you to be happy every day. I really do. But I'm not interested in seeing a generation of people squandered to uphold the very wealthiest. Let's help the people at the bottom. Let's offer them that $900 a month check you receive. If you can skip that one time, 1 month you skip it, I'll raise it to $950. Why? Because I have to pay you 18 more times before I lose. And if I cut $1,500 a month out of the other side of this, I've got a lot more to play with. And my hope is that you'll keep taking this offer. You'll raise it from $900 to $1,000, from $1,000, $1,050, $1,050 to $1,100, $1,150. That's 5 times I didn't have to pay you. 5 times I didn't have to pay you actually adds up to quite a bit. It's the reason that a 50-year mortgage sounds like a bad idea. It's the same reason this is a good one. Or it could be. Frankly, I don't care if we go with my idea. I just want to see anybody advocating for reforms on these programs. We're too cowardly. It's the reason Trump lost the kids. He's not really interested in helping them, or he would have. And he's concerned about those media interests. He's concerned about all those tech billionaires that are propping up the economy as they bury it in a future only Peter Thiel wants. Peter Thiel's the one who wants you to buy everything online, rent and everything. And yet, he's said to be on our side. And I'm not on that side then. I'm not on the side that brings the future no one asked for. I don't want electric cars or plastic windmills. Those wooden Dutch windmills stand forever. You change them out with a board. You don't make them out of plastic, watch them come apart in a windstorm, throw them away. And yet they're not very good technology, are they? Right? Because at the end of the day, even a diesel-powered aircraft carrier is inferior to a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, and none of these tech giants are interested in actually building the electrical structures that they'd need to power their AI. Instead, they're suing your local power company, saying they should provide you with less power. Are deportations working? Absolutely not. $20,000 a month. Give it 50 months, you get $1 million. But then Trump's out of office. Somebody pointed out the other day, 2 million people left of their own accord. Aren't the estimates somewhere between 13 million, 30 million, 40 million? Something absurd like that? At that point, a quarter of Mexico's already here. How many of them still want to come? We might be done with that. At what point do you just make an exclusive deal with the people who control our southern border and can control theirs? They're the only people in the entire hemisphere with the will to control their border, and just make an exclusive deal with Mexico. They'd be up for that? I doubt it. But Canada's screwing us. Canada's doing currency manipulation. Is Mexico? No, their people are coming here, taking any job they can get their hands on to flee corruption, fraud, disaster. The Canadian politicians are actually working against us pretty dramatically. It's one of the reasons you can't own a home. Canadian lumber. It is so expensive. And we had to make exemptions to get potash in from Canada, because only 2 U.S. companies make potash. It's a farming product. You see, the Republican Party is so interested in food stamps right now. That one pisses me off. You guys are rarely probably going to see me angry. I don't really do pissed off rage and frothing at the mouth. It's not a good look for a toothless guy. Cut the whole program, you get a $5.2 trillion federal budget. You don't save a dime. The federal budget's $5.30. You save 10 cents when you cut all the food stamps. I'd like to talk about the $3.25 that we're spending on elder care, but nobody wants to, right? It's the thing that people feel most entitled to out of all the entitlements. Somebody's embarrassed to be on food stamps. Most people on Social Security talk about my benefits. It's not that I don't want you to have your benefits. I'm not against you having your benefits. I'm against the kids not having houses and families. Mass migration is being offered to prop this system up because it's collapsing. It doesn't work. It's not going to work. Let's run through that, okay? There is $2.5 trillion in shore funds, $2.50 in shore funds. They started as treasury bonds, a bunch of morons. And since Japan's not going to be buying our treasury bonds on that weird interest-free yen market thing they were doing, nobody wants them. Rates go up, rates go down, it doesn't matter. There was a short circuit in the system before that was kind of propping them up. As of yesterday, it's gone. So you shouldn't have stored it as treasury bonds. 2.5 trillion. Did it get robbed? No, it's a watermark high point. It's at a watermark high point. That means that there really has never been more than $2.5 trillion in this fund. So why is it not enough? Why is the program collapsing? Inflation. You can't have a $40 trillion federal deficit in a country that only has about $300 trillion in net wealth. I got that statistic off of Barron's. I'm not sure I trust it because so much wealth and debt is held privately. But they say that there's about $180 trillion in the private sector of the economy and about $120 trillion in household wealth. You combine that, and I don't know, if you want to divide that out across every person, it doesn't really do you any good, but that'd be $75,000 across every American, but we have no economy then. That doesn't make any sense. Socialism is offering to pay for these programs. You see, the Social Security program's collapsing. It takes 3 workers to pay for one person's Social Security, and 25% of people are on it. So we spent 10% of that $2.5 trillion of shore funds this year. We're going to go right through it and run right out of shore funds. That's your money. That's your money set aside from better days. You paid into the system. That's where it is. They didn't store it in individual accounts. That didn't happen. We have to deal with reality as it is. I see a bunch of comments that I agree with. They lament that this didn't happen or that didn't happen or this didn't happen. Politics is budget and policy. Budget and policy. Everything else is culture. I can lament that in the culture with you. But going forward, we can't be Hoover. We can't say, okay, well, the government's going to sit aside and let everybody burn. We're going to watch the country burn to the ground. No, that's why Hoover's mocked. That's his failing. Roosevelt came around and instituted this post-World War II economic order that the kids hate so much, that they're so up in arms against. FDR. So what do? Well, Republicans had their own Roosevelt. And he also offered reforms in response to Upton Sinclair, who published The Jungle. Maybe you're familiar with The Jungle. It's a story about how disgusting the American food supply was, and it was so bad that they had grade A, B, C, and D canned products. Tell you something funny. The grade A was the grade C. They were all disgusting. If you went into the factory, there'd be these Irishmen with nubs because they chopped so much of their fingers off chopping meat. They just take a little hack here, a little hack there, a little hack here, a little hack there. You do that for 40 years, you get stumps. It's in the food. It's in people's food. You were eating. We won't even get into it because I want to keep your viewership. I want to retain you watching. But if you're curious about that, Upton Sinclair's book, The Jungle, he says, I missed America's heart and hit their stomach. He was a socialist. Roosevelt headed him off at the pass. Teddy Roosevelt, the bull moose, the Cyclone Assemblyman. They passed the Clean Food and Drug Act, which led to the Food and Drug Administration, and the Pure Meat Act, which led to meat inspection. Republicans can offer reforms that help people. It's perfectly within our purview. It's completely normally a part of our politics. We're the party of Lincoln. Do whatever the hell we want. And if that means that we support changes in social programs that reduce budgetary spending overall and help people more effectively, congrats, that's a win. That's what we should be doing. Why? Because you don't win elections on the fringes. You win them with normative people. There's a bunch of guys in this shop that aren't going to sit there, I'm a Republican, yeah. Like all these guys online, like all of the hyper-political people online. You don't win elections with hyper-polarized political people. You guys already know who you're going to vote for 4 years in advance. You win it with the middle. You win it with coalition. You win it by getting people to vote for you, vote for their own interests, vote against the other guy. You have an agenda, you have an idea, you have a vision. Turns out, as far as these young people are looking at it, that Trump's vision was to just help boomers again. Again, I'm sorry, I don't have a problem with boomers. I'm not trying to sit here and just slander a whole generation. I want to help those of you that don't get enough in Social Security. Maybe I don't have a good idea how to do that. Maybe this isn't the answer. But until we start producing answers, until we start producing pieces of policy that we want, that reforms the 3/5 of the federal budget, that's actually the issue. Well, then screw the kids. They can keep aborting their babies. Do you support abortion? I'm not huge on abortion. I don't really like abortion. That whole it's murder argument doesn't seem to change anybody's mind. What if I told you it's damaging your health care? Right? There are plenty of people that would like to help somebody, and a lot of those people are religious, and a lot of religious people are the ones with opposition to abortion. There's a shortage of nurses. You know who doesn't want to be a nurse? The Christian person who's told, hey, today we're performing an abortion. That person thinks it's murder. They got to keep their job. Have you seen this economy? Murder a baby or get fired. I'm out. I'm out. I'm not playing. We have a simple test for who's God. My God can withstand fire. Walk right through it. Not dealing with that. I'm not participating in something like that. But many people do. Many people participate in that kind of thing, and it weighs on their conscience. Some abortions are just pills. Sometimes they dismember the baby and suck it out. Just depends. How many abortions? 40 million in America since the implementation of Roe versus Wade in the 70s. If you check, I've only got one post on my YouTube channel. It's your global abortion stat. Again, I'm just not big on it, you know. I'm not sitting here calling you a murderer, shaking my fist. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Paul was a murderer. In fact, I don't even know that I think that highly of heroism. As a lifeguard as a kid. And by the grace of God, to his glory, to his credit, I was given the opportunity to act several times. Several times. and you sort of come down off the adrenaline high and realize what you've done while that parent is chewing you out. They're never happy that you pulled their kid out of the water. And you go, oh, thank God I didn't let everyone down. I didn't act in a way that was a failure. You're not the hero. You're just not. So I'm not huge on heroism. I'm not huge on the idea that society owes people for their actions. But we should take better care of our veterans. We really should. Many of them were kicked out after the Vietnam War, so we wouldn't have to pay them. They court-martialed them up, ran them out of the Marines. Once a Marine, always a Marine. I'm not a Marine. I didn't join the services. None of that. I didn't want to be a nuke tech. I didn't want to go to school for that. But I'll tell you this. I think my awakening to this, because I have watched all of these politics as long as I can remember. I was in the 8th grade reading newspapers about John McCain during free study. I'm only 30. I'm 30. You see, we're not doing enough for the people that vote for us. The kids have gone to the outcasts. They've gone everywhere. The boomers are going back to the Democrat Party because they might not cut Medicare. Socialism's being offered to pay for it. It ain't going to buy you groceries. It's going to cover the collapsing Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid program that we're just burying the country over. So nobody has the stones to turn to those people and say, listen, that's it. It's enough. I'm going to have to cut 5,000 is too much. 4,000 is too much. 3,000 is too much. It'll surprise you, it varies a lot who's receiving what. I've talked to some people in some very poor situations that got 2,500. Some people that seemed like they were doing a lot better, they got 12. At the end of the day, though, a lot of these people have to work into their twilight years. And surprise, surprise, that suppresses wages. You don't like hearing that? Suppresses wages. Yeah, because you're getting a check. You don't need the whole check. You don't need all your wages. $12 an hour? $15 an hour? Okay. The kids are trying to build a nest egg. They're trying to set more aside than you are. You're just trying to survive, but they want to have a family. They want to have kids. They want to raise a future generation of Americans. I'm not one of those nutwings that says if you're not white, you're not American. I think blacks are deeply American. I really do. I don't mean the ones that came here from Africa 10 minutes ago. I mean African Americans. Booker T. Washington, or Booker T. I don't remember. George Washington Carver. He invented peanut butter. What's more American? They accuse us. Tom Holland, who's one of the 15% of British actors, they come here for all the good jobs. He says hot dogs aren't American, hamburgers aren't American. He says we don't have a culture. Peanut butter and jelly. You can thank George Washington Carver. Because of his belief in God, he believed that peanut was good for something. It's just nitrogen fixing. Cotton tears the nitrogen out of the soil. Just rips it right out of there. Peanuts put it back in. They're not good for anything. That's what Carver figured out. He figured out what they're good for. He had a bunch of uses that we don't use, but peanut butter stuck. Grandma's foresight gets you the jam. You're not going to go out today and make jam. You need fresh fruit from harvest, preserves. You do it wrong, well, congrats. You get poisoned. Is it botulism, or is that when you put Botox in your face? Or are they the same thing? I'm not educated. I hope you're picking up on that. I'm just an Iowan. To be honest, if you take anything away from this, it's that you should hire Iowans, because as far as Iowa's concerned, I'm an idiot. as far as anywhere's concerned, I'm an idiot. But I'm speaking to what nobody else is. Speaking of the deficit. And the deficit's what's crippling these kids. It's what's crippling the country. The value of the dollar. Spineless politicians. They know that. They say, look at them. They bend over backwards to kiss the nation state of Israel. Let me just say this. That northern kingdom, all those Christian Zionists go on about, I'm one of them. Yeah, the northern kingdom doesn't get restored after the Babylonian exile. That's what we're all on about, is the Bible keeps saying that the northern kingdom's going to be restored. Frankly, I'm not really sure why you'd believe the thing if you didn't believe that. You'd have to have kind of a fugazi understanding, sort of an up-in-air facsimile idea of what all that meant, and they really do over in the Universalist Church. I don't know if this episode makes any sense. I don't care. I'm done filming. It's the end of the night. It's like 9:30 here. I'm screaming into a 2007 laptop for 14 people to enjoy. Please subscribe. Please. Well, don't subscribe. I don't want you to subscribe. That's loser shit. I don't ask for likes. I don't ask for subscribes. Please look for the website. We'll get you the name of the website. I want to give you money. I want to give you money. You give me something. You watch this video. Nobody else will watch this damn video. So please, take my money. It'd make me really happy. Thanks for watching. My viewers mean a lot to me. I'm going to hit the 41-minute mark evenly. I just think that'll be easier.